Growing up, my father worked for himself as a furniture repairman. He was his boss. He was the laborer, customer service, accounting, the works. He traveled all around the state of Florida to find work and often moved our family around with him. Now and then he'd take me along with him for the day. Helping my father with the grunt work was where I learned the value of entrepreneurship and just what an honest day's work really meant. When my parents divorced, my mom worked several jobs at a time to make sure that we'd be able to pay our bills. We had to move out of our house and into a more modest neighborhood to keep our heads above water. My brother and I went to public school just as we always had. And my mom managed to find the time to make sure that we did our homework. She stayed engaged with us through her exhaustion, and despite the uncertainty of moving around a lot, I worked hard and received my diploma with honors. That's how I was able to go to the college I wanted. My family was only able to help me out modestly as I put myself through school, and I worked part-time in addition to a full course load. I took summer classes and found a good internship and struggled despite a handsome amount of grants and scholarships. By the time I graduated, I had over $50,000 in student loan debt. I was lucky enough to find a decent job quickly, but only part-time. So I worked a second job for years to make ends meet at the one I enjoyed, and I'm proud to say that I stand on my own 2 feet today. I work hard, just like my parents did, make sacrifices, and try to make prudent choices that I can be proud of. Is it so much to ask of my government that it do the same? If I can't spend my way into prosperity, can't operate on a budget deficit, and can't micromanage my neighbors, then why on earth should Uncle Sam get to operate so recklessly? Why should I see my paycheck and wonder whether government is working for me or vice versa? What incentive do I have to work harder when doing so will only put me in a higher, more punitive tax bracket? Why would anyone want to achieve more only to become a target? William F. Buckley, a man who I grew up taught to fear, and a man who I admittedly am only now beginning to understand and admire, once notably claimed, quote, "Liberals claim to want to give hearing to others' views, but then are shocked and offended to discover that there are other views." Well, I have a different view, and that's why I'm here today with you. I see a storm brewing in Washington. These 4 years promise to be a tumultuous time for many Americans, and America herself is in danger. As we spend trillions of dollars that we don't have to pay for projects that we don't need, we become more and more dependent on foreign entities that care for us less and less. Our standing as the last great superpower does make it incumbent upon us to lead by example, and our current direction is absolutely frightening. It's appalling to witness zombie social programs still in place that suck the life from our prosperity, and which perpetuate the cycle of government reliance and never-ending need. Social Security and Medicare, the war on poverty, farm subsidies, the welfare state. The ghosts of FDR's New Deal and LBJ's Great Society haunt us still today. The massive government programs created by these great leaders were meant to solve the problems of our society's needy, and were envisioned in good faith. But their unintended consequences are both far-reaching and devastating to our greater prosperity. They're productivity killers. They're disincentives to work. Our capitalist society is being dismantled bit by bit right beneath our very noses, and we're told we should be happy about it. We're taught to believe that we're helping people by propping them up, but in truth, we're harming America by never allowing her citizens to grow up. In his first 30 days in office, President Obama outlined as much spending as had ever taken place from the founding of this nation up until his inauguration. Let me repeat that. In 1 month, President Obama earmarked spending for as many dollars as had ever been spent by the previous 43 presidents and the past 2.25 centuries of the existence of this country. This, mind you, comes on the heels of 8 years of government expansion and deficit spending that he campaigned against to reach the job of president in the first place. Many of us have asked ourselves over the past 8 years whether we were on the right track. But now, there's no doubt. we can say with certainty that now we are not. So what are we to do? Is it so wrong to hope for a bad agenda to fail? Wouldn't it be irresponsible for us not to feel this way? If you see something happening which you believe to be wrong or dangerous, shouldn't you feel compelled to work against it? When did dissent go from being the highest form of patriotism to being considered hateful and blasphemous? At what point do we stop being bashful about disagreeing with this administration on policy? Can't we have goodwill toward a man himself and still have honest and substantive disagreements with him? Why should we be ashamed of ourselves for championing a different path? The Democrats know that they have a short time to enact their agenda, and they're moving fast. Party leaders and liberal organizers are circling the wagons to make sure that their special interests are protected, while criticizing members of this party for organizing against them, as though that were evil. To keep people from noticing their reckless policies, they instead try to define Republicans. They call this the party of no. Let us ask ourselves, is that so bad? I, for one, am very happy that someone is out there standing firm. I'm comforted that someone proudly stands up and says, no, you can't spend my grandchildren's money without ever figuring out how you'll pay it back. It's only right that someone should stand tall and say, no, you aren't going to teach our children sex education in elementary school while they're learning how to read. And no, you can't give my teenage daughter an abortion without so much as informing me that you did. To foreign leaders with nuclear ambitions, it's up to us to say no, you can't destabilize the world and still expect a seat at the adults' table. Someone should be out there shouting from the rooftops, no, Mr. President, you can't just let terrorists and their support networks free. No, we don't want them in our country, and no, you can't just send them home. No, you shouldn't close Guantanamo Bay without a viable alternative because you like how good it makes you feel or how good it makes you look. No, someone must say no. But even though leaders of this party are right to say no, don't let anyone distract you or make you forget. This party doesn't only stand against everything. This party stands for many things for which you can be very proud. Even before I put on the red team jersey, I never stood quiet against those demonizing the Republican Party. Like any other entity, this party has had its ebbs and flows. It's had to make tough, sometimes unpopular decisions. It's been on the wrong side of a few battles, but on the right side of many more. And where it's really counted, this party has more often been the party of action than of words, of working to improve reality rather than uplifting with rhetoric. The Democrats are a party of yes we can, and that's fine, that's great. But we already know that we can. On this side of the aisle, it isn't news that we can. This is America. Instead, this party has been and must continue to be the party that says, we have, we do, we will.